Good job today, man. One at a time, and we'll get the job done. Y'all know what to say. On three. 1, 2, 3.
And the home of the Jets.
Good evening, everybody. Happy, hot, very humid Tuesday here in New Jersey, where I feel like I'm now in Tampa Bay because it's 100 degrees every day and humid. I'm dying over here. Ian, long time no talk. How you doing, man?
You know what's great? So I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Back, right? We skipped last week.
Yep.
By the way, how's the move going?
Good, man. Everything's doing good, man. I'm cruising along. Just very hectic schedule right now. And you know what made my schedule even worse? A 3-hour ride home tonight, my commute. I go from Somerset to Brick, which is an hour, right? I get on 287, 5 minutes in, bumper to bumper traffic for 2.5 hours. I had a 3-hour ride home today, man. That really made my life so enjoyable. So I'm so excited to talk about the New York Jets right now. I'm like a raging animal.
I mean, was that for work or?
Yeah, I commute an hour each way every day. But there was an accident, and like they had to do like a crime scene investigation, all this stuff. Literally bumper to bumper for 2 hours, man. Just and it's 100 degrees outside too. So it's like you're sitting there and you're like, it's just like it's miserable, man. It was so bad.
Yeah, dude. I remember my so the car that I was driving around in college my first year, it was an older Honda Civic and it didn't have AC. It blew air, but it was just hot. And I remember that summer, man, just so many times like people would be in the car or whatever and they get so pissed. All right, crank up the AC, man. It's 100 degrees. I'm like, bro, I don't have cold air, so we just have to roll with the windows down. It's miserable, bro.
Yeah, there were some bars and restaurants this weekend that lost power. They lost air conditioning. I'm like, I'm out. I'm good. I can skip this one because you want to sit and you don't want to be sticky and sweating or anything else. So anyway, that's summertime though. The things happen, and we're about a month away from training camp, which is exciting. A very quiet time of the off season, but some interesting stories that you can kind of follow and assess as you go along. But one thing I'm really curious with you is, now it's like barbecue season. Everybody wants to talk about the Jets. Like, oh, what do you think with the Jets and the one question I get asked the most is, who has more pressure this year, Aaron Glenn or Justin Fields? In terms of the New York Jets, not their own individual careers, but in terms of the Jets, who has more pressure on them, Glenn or Fields?
I would say Fields. I mean,
so?
Glenn. Yeah. Are you thinking Glenn?
Let me hear why.
More pressure. I would say because the Jets committed to Glenn. I just, when I'm thinking about just all of the dysfunction, all of the losing, all of the issues and finger pointing and excuses and just everything that took place last year, it just was an absolute mess. And Aaron Glenn has been one of the top head coaching candidates throughout, I mean, I don't even know how many cycles now.
Yep.
He's a coveted dude. There are teams that are, ringing him off the hook, trying to get him in for head coaching interviews. And he chose the Jets and he signed a big deal. Obviously, brand new general manager and Darren Muji here. I just don't see the Jets like looking, at their maybe like win-loss goals, win-loss total, looking at Aaron Glenn like with like a timer going down in their head, like, oh, you got to turn it around. You got to hurry up and get this thing, moving in the right direction. Obviously, we all want as many wins as possible, but I think this year it's kind of like the first level, that ground floor of, okay, this has been an absolute disaster for I don't even know how many years now, going back. I want to say probably the last season of Todd Bowles up through last year has been a joke. So we're not just going to overnight, flip the script and everything's fine. And we're now on the same level as the Bills and the Chiefs in the AFC. I think it's going to take some time there. But when I look at Justin Fields, a couple years in Chicago, didn't really go his way. Definitely not all his fault. Benched last season in Pittsburgh, now on team 3 signed a 2-year deal. So he does have that extra year of security, which is cool for him. $30 million guaranteed. But I could easily like if Justin Fields doesn't work out, he's not the answer. He's struggling. The offense is kind of sputtering week to week. I could see the Jets 100% going quarterback in the top 10 next year. I don't see a situation or really any sort of scenario where the Jets move on from Aaron Glenn or even like a coordinator.
Yeah, see, I have the complete opposite take on this, where I think that Justin Fields from his own career has a lot of pressure. He wants to resurrect himself and say, I'm a starting quarterback. I could be your guy for the next decade. But if he falters in terms of the Jets, Tyrod Taylor's next man up. All right, well, you're faltering. You know what? We tried. It's not working out. We could bring somebody else in. But in terms of Aaron Glenn, I think he has pressure in terms of not getting fired this year, but we're talking culture change. We're talking cleaning a lot of things up, better coach team, more discipline, more physical. If you don't start seeing that this year, I'm not saying win 12 games, but there's a lot of things that we want to see cleaned up that if you don't see that, it's like, you know what? Another another first-time head coach in over his head that talked it and couldn't walk it. I think there's pressure for him to show legitimate results that, all right, they're getting better as the season plays out. All the things he talks about they can actually do. It's a well-schemed defense, a well-schemed offense. If Justin Fields doesn't work out, all right, plug and play. We took a chance because of where our draft spot was and the draft class and all different things were for quarterback. We took a chance to work out. Next year we can find our quarterback, but our program is in place. We're showing our program is somewhat legit. We have like a foundation here. We just need the quarterback. I think he needs to show that this year where it's like, all right, I'm running the ship. It's a tight ship. It's the right direction. And you can feel confident, you can feel confident in me that we know what we're doing. Now we need to add that talent. So for me, I think I'm not saying pressure saying fire Glenn. I'm saying just pressure for him to produce that his program is going to work. And it's like they're a well-run machine.
So what does successful look like to you if it's not win-loss?
A team that competes week in and week out. You like I think at this point we could tell when a team's well coached. They're prepared. They make adjustments. There's accountability. And as the season plays out, you see them getting better. Like the first 3-4 weeks of the season, they could start off rough, dude. It's not an easy schedule. And there's a lot of growing pains. New coach, new system, new quarterback, all of that. But come week 9, 10, 12, you're like, all right, these guys know what they're doing. They're finding their way now. And you can look forward to next year with confidence saying, okay, we have the right coach. We need more pieces to the puzzle. But if you have a question, like with Saleh, we had questions with both. Like, yeah, this guy should know. Next year, Saleh better show more. You better show more. He never really did, right? Like, if we're being honest about it, after his first year, we kind of gave him like the red shirt year. Oh, you know what? Team's going to suck. You got to find your way. No big deal. And then he never really improved as a head coach. So you don't want to have that same feeling with Aaron Glenn going to year 2. Like, I hope we have our head coach. You kind of want to have a good feeling about him.
Yeah, dude, definitely. And I think, a lot of people, can point to just multiple teams out there. Like one team I'm always seeing is like the Vikings when they hired Kevin O'Connell. They're like, oh yeah, it was like super obvious that Kevin O'Connell was a good head coach early on, winning games. From a play calling standpoint, looked good. From a schematic standpoint, looked good. It seemed like, multiple players on offense were producing, and it was really just like, all right, we really got to fix the defense, but Kevin O'Connell's great. I personally don't like the comparison all that much because of where the Vikings were previously. And it's not to say that the Vikings, were a great team, steamrolling people, and Kevin O'Connell walked into like an Eagles situation or something like that. But I don't want it to sound cliche, but really like Dan Campbell in the Detroit Lions is the team. Like that's the team for me that I'm looking at how they really built it from the ground up. Because when Campbell stepped into that locker room, not only were the Lions just bad, not only were the Lions just searching for answers, with the coaches. I mean, Matt Patricia at the time was the most recent coach that was fired, but they let go of Bob Quinn at general manager. Like they needed a whole rehaul. Right. They had to completely change everything. There were questions about ownership. There were questions about how the front office worked. Supposedly like the Patriot way that they try to like implant just didn't like the players just weren't responding to it whatsoever. Yep. So Campbell, you kind of almost wanted that big personality to take the job that's not going to be, scared off if the team loses a little bit, or someone who can't really connect with players like Patricia. Like you need that like type A type of guy, and you got to stick with them. Right. And I think with Glenn, it was similar with him, Lions aside, he's like a type A guy. He's a former player. He can connect with players. And the Jets need someone who can create a culture. I mean, we've been talking about it like year after year.
Yeah.
Someone that can just build an environment where, of course, you're winning games down the road, but it's just, this hard-nosed, blue-collar, work hard, head down type of culture that players want to be a part of, and players know that they're going to be better if they join a team, whether they're a free agent or a draft pick or or a current player. But it took a little bit for the Lions to get going and Dan Campbell. And I think, if I would have, because a lot of people didn't really like that Campbell signing to begin with, like he was made fun of, like from a national media perspective. Like, this is the guy.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Right. And because if we think back at the time, Robert Saleh was actually like the top choice, and he's from Michigan. There was a lot of people saying like Saleh, he'd make a lot of sense with with Detroit, and he was like the number 1, number 2 coaching candidate out on that open market in that specific cycle. But again, dude, like it took Campbell a little bit. What did he have? 3 wins that first year?
Yeah,
so
I hear what you're saying, and like this is an interesting conversation. I'm really fascinated by this, and it's like I'm with the comment here, Enoch Corker, who says, "I feel like we have way better talent on this roster than the Lions did when Dan Campbell took the job. It'll fall on coaching and Justin Fields taking the next step." And that's kind of where I'm at, where like Saleh took on this job and it's like, we have a JV team. This roster's barren. We don't have anything here. We got to completely rebuild it. That's not the case here. I mean, the Jets have talent on both sides of the ball, Pro Bowl talent, maybe some all-pro talent. So now it's a matter of making them a cohesive unit, a well-coached unit, physical discipline, and you should be able to compete week in and week out. Like, I'm not willing to write out the season saying, it's like, so to me, Justin Fields has to play well. He could play average, but if not, you have that buffer of Tyrod Taylor. So to me, there's more pressure on his coaching staff, because we've talked about it the last like 3 weeks, dude. Like, they're putting a premium on coaching. Look at special teams, all unproven guys. Like, they're saying, like, trust us. We know what we're doing. Now you got to show us. And that's where I'm kind of saying, like I'm trying to figure out what's the common denominator of every team that had a quick turnaround. The Commanders, the Lions, the Texans. Is it the coach? Is it the quarterback? Is it the combination of them? Is it their program? Is it the offensive line? Like, how can you pinpoint the Jets saying, you know what, we can do that quick turnaround time? It's like, all right, well, is it the line play that sets the tone for you? Then you're like, what's the common denominator?
I think it's a combination of the 3 things you said. I mean, what were the 3 teams you mentioned? Commanders, Texans,
Lions, and Texans.
Well, the Lions, like Commanders, took off immediately.
Yep.
Houston took off immediately with DeMeco Ryans. The Lions went 3-13 that first year with Campbell, and then they went on this huge losing streak to start. Well, I think they had like 1 win, or they started like 0-7 or 0-8 or something in year 2. And at that point, like one of my buddies, Kyle, he's a big Lions fan. He's just like, man, I love Campbell. I love this Lions team. We just really don't have the talent. Like I'm aware of that, and I know we're competing in games, but we saw what happened in year 1, 3 games. It was miserable. Year 2, we're still not getting wins. And I remember just having conversations with them, not necessarily like talking them off the ledge, but just kind of like, hey man, we both like the Campbell hire a lot. We know that this team needs talent. It's just going to take a little bit more time, whether it's another free agency cycle or another draft. And long story short, they went on like a nice like winning streak. And I think they actually finished 9-8 that second year, which was like this huge sign of encouragement. And then year 3, they just kind of boomed. But with Washington, they bring in Washington has the new ownership, the new general manager, the new head coach, and then the new quarterback.
And the quarterback too. That's the question. That's kind of where I was leading to, where it's like, you're right. The Lions are an example where you have that. It's more of a process where a lot of Jet fans now, when you're talking to them, you're trying to find some excitement. Like, listen, how many teams in the NFL turn around like that? Why can't we be that? I'm like, all right, I'm all for it. Sign me up for 12 wins right now. Let's roll. I'm into it. But like, what's the formula to actually do that? Is it getting the head coach that can make it turn around, or is it the head coach quarterback combo? Like Jaden Daniels, phenomenal. CJ Stroud, phenomenal. Is that the key? Like, and do we have to rely on Justin Fields? Like, that's where, if you want to make a Justin Fields argument, listen, the Jets are going to be that surprise team. It's all on him, because it isn't, NFL is a quarterback driven league, and that's how we have to follow. Like, what gets you to be that quick turnaround team? Is it the program or the quarterback?
I mean, I think it's got to be a combination of both. Or really, I think really the simple answer here is everybody in important positions needs to be efficient at their job. The GM needs to be able to acquire talent. They need to be able to have like a good scouting program and to be able to evaluate these guys to bring in, okay, these are not only good players, but they can grow and get better. They fit our system. They fit our culture. So we have that down. Then you have to have a head coach that,
Right.
From a schematic standpoint, leadership standpoint, culture standpoint, like boom, if you could bring that, awesome. Now we have like the blueprint and the kind of foundation. And then all of a sudden you add the star quarterback and it's like this, great like concoction of massive figures of importance in an NFL, really any sort of franchise, all upgraded massively. Yeah, you should see like this huge boom in overall team success if you nail all three of those.
So yeah, and so I agree with you. But now if you say like how many boxes of a quality team do the Jets check? So you say offensive line, for example, right? And I'll go through this just like I've been thinking about this for like 3 days now. I've been dying to talk about this because it's driving me crazy. And I argue with this over beers with somebody. So it's like how many boxes do the Jets check? Offensive line, in theory, if they're well coached and Membu is as advertised and they stay healthy, this offensive line, you can make an argument should be top 14. Not even saying crazy. Like they should be an above average offensive line, given time, given chemistry, given health. Is that fair to say?
I think so. Yeah.
All right. So you have the offensive line. Check. Signs of a good team, good offensive line. That means you run the football, right? Running backs. The Jets have those. You can make an argument that Jets have, they could have a very good, healthy Breece Hall, a very good running back there, 2 very serviceable backups. Running back, you're comfortable, right? Mm-hmm. So you have offensive line, running game, wide receivers. You have that, that superstar wide receiver. In theory, you do have that in Garrett Wilson. You can make a case that you have concerns after that, where that's going to come down to, can you scheme guys open? What can you get at Josh Reynolds? Maybe you get some lightning about Aaron Smith, Malachi Corley, whoever else, right? But then you say tight end position. Mason Taylor could be a solid piece. So do the Jets check enough boxes right now on paper to say we're serviceable on offense to be a quality team, minus the quarterback? Just saying, just the pieces on paper now going in the training camp.
I think it's good enough, but the caveat, last season was good enough too. And
that's got it. That's the X factor, because that's coaching. Because you can make a case, like listen to Aaron Rodgers talk about like ripping the run game. It's ridiculous because he's part of it. They were really poorly coached last year. So if the Jets have enough talent on offense, minus a quarterback, to compete and play well if they're well coached, stout offensive line that can make adjustments and protect the quarterback, they should be a top, 15, 16 offense, right? Is that unrealistic?
I mean, whenever you're talking like top 15, like I think the goal is like right now, can you name 15 offenses that are like definitively better? But who actually thought that the Commanders were going to have the season that they did? Even if Washington just, kind of skimmed into the playoffs and then got like obliterated round 1, that's still a humongous win for them. But, lo and behold, they go to the championship game, right? Texans, right? Same deal. Second pick in the draft. Second and third pick in the draft because Will Anderson too. But nobody saw like that type of climb or like that type of, what would be the word, like ascension in just 1 year after, new coach, new quarterback and stuff like that. So coaching, it's absolutely massive, dude. And the one thing that we're always talking about on the pod, whether it's out of season, in season, I think this is like a non-negotiable. You need your coaching staff to uplift the roster and pull them forward. Like thinking of like someone, dragging like this bag over his shoulder up the hill, and he's carrying this sled up the hill. The sled's the roster. The guy pulling it is the coach. Whereas, you kind of think like, okay, Saleh and Ulbrich and Hackett and Gase and all these guys, they're the sled with an anchor tied to it, and it's being pulled down the hill. It's like no one. I don't want to come across as harsh, but there definitely has that vibe of like, okay, these players aren't being developed. They're not being put in positions to have success. The coaches are holding the players back. They're not lifting them up. With Rex, that's why one of the reasons why I loved Rex was you kind of felt like no matter what position out, like maybe outside of quarterback, Like if you're talking running backs, if you're talking wide receivers, corners, D tackles, linebackers, whatever, like he can make, like he's maximizing these guys. Like they're probably not going to get any better than
They
what
overachieve. Yeah.
overachieve. Right.
And that's the thing. But so if you have that, so like if you're going through the progressions here saying, listen, you feel comfortable with a decent portion of the offense, then you go to quarterback where it's like, okay, if they're well coached and he can run the ball and just be a mildly consistent passer, right? This on offense, this team should be able to compete. Like, and that's where I'm like, but to me, this more falls on Glenn and his staff than it does Justin Fields. You put him in a position to succeed, run the football, creative play calling. Don't call out of what he's not comfortable with. Like, don't force him to things he can't do, right? And that's what a lot of staffs in the past have done. Do things like, dude, they're not good at this. Breece Hall's not good at certain things. We know what they are. Don't make him do it. You know what Garrett Wilson shines at? Make him do that, right? Like sometimes football's simple. Let them be good at what they're great at. You know what I mean? So to me, it's like on offense with Fields, and the buffer is Tyrod Taylor. It really is. Like if you start the first 4 weeks of the season and Justin Fields is struggling, and he's like, you're not really seeing a lot. Is this not? If you have to make a change, this team should be able to compete with Tyrod Taylor too. Like you're not mailing in the season. Like to me, it's like the expectation is kind of increased where I'm not a 2 or 3 win person. Like I think the team has enough talent to do well. And it's just a matter of what. Now, the question I have for you is, are we overrating anything on offense? Maybe it's the offensive line. I don't know. But I feel comfortable with what we're saying so far.
I think the running game should be fine on paper. But, dude, like, again, bro, we said that last year. And it's like, this year I definitely have more confidence in it because Braylon Allen is like, and Isaiah Davis, they're not question marks, really. We've seen them in regular season action. And I just don't think you could get much worse than what we had from a coaching standpoint a year ago with Keith Carter and them. And also, too, just from an overall buy-in at the quarterback position, like you could always kind of sense, even though Rodgers had his guy at Hackett as OC, there was like a rift or like this grind between like what Rodgers wanted to do at the line of scrimmage and what Saleh wanted to do. And most of the time they opted for what Rodgers wanted. And for whatever reason, it just didn't work out. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. It's funny that you mentioned Tyrod Taylor, though. We were just talking about Rex Ryan. Let me throw this out there as like a potential comparison. Do you remember a couple years ago? Well, sorry, not a couple years ago, a while ago, when Buffalo actually hired Rex, and the mindset was like, okay, you know what? There's some pretty talented players on this roster. Yeah. We just need a quarterback to hold it down and not ruin games. Let's go out and have this open competition. And at the time, Tyrod Taylor won it. And so the whole kind of identity of the Bills was, we're going to play good defense. You know, Mario Williams, like the defense, they had pieces. But on offense, we're going to run the ball. We're going to not turn it over. We're not going to make mistakes. We're going to try to feed Sammy Watkins at the wide receiver position, who was like the big prize jewel acquisition that they brought in. And Tyrod Taylor can use his legs also too as like, you know, this kind of secondary weapon. But the bread and butter is going to be running the football and playing good defense. And we're going to, you know, scrap out victories like that. And, you know, Buffalo, they won, you know, a decent amount of games, but as far as, you know, getting into the playoffs and stuff like that, obviously it didn't really happen. And the whole Mario Williams fallout afterwards with the whole scheme fit. Yeah. But the point is, could we maybe see a similar approach where it's like, hey, we have the talent on defense, theoretically speaking, Steve Wilkes calling plays, it should be a good enough unit. It should not be a bottom 10 unit. Just that would be inexcusable. But to your point though, to cut you off real quick, but to your point, right now you're giving me the formula for a quick turnaround, right? Like you're saying, listen, this is the way we can actually maybe exceed some people's expectations by handling it this way. Like, right? Because like, dude, well, I get so many messages, dude, you're such a homer. This is a 4-win team, 3-win team. They're gonna suck this, that, and everything. I'm like, there's every team in the NFL that struggles has a recipe to bounce back very fast. The key is finding what's the Jets' recipe. And you're kind of going into it now. Where it's like, listen, we could have a good running game. We could have a good offensive line. We could have a good defense. Like you can find a way to say, you know what? This shouldn't be. This should be a competitive team, with or without Justin Fields playing at a high level. If he doesn't, bench him. Who cares? You're not tied to him. You didn't just draft him. He's a 2-year guy, maybe a 1-year guy, right? I don't know if I would bench Justin Fields. I see. I'm giving him a pretty long leash. I'm not thinking about benching Justin Fields after a month.
But I'm saying
Even
if
the
he's like
offense is not.
severely like you could tell when a quarterback's hurting you, right? We've seen it last decade when a quarterback is
Mhm.
literally a liability out there. If that does happen for whatever reason, okay, like it's not like you're bringing in Zach Wilson, right? You have a competent guy there, so it's like a lot of times you're always good at your quarterback play. Your backup is still serviceable. Like you have a plan B if needed. If Justin Fields gets hurt, you have that plan B. So there is a formula there if they play to their proper level that they should compete. So can we find a way to make this team, a candidate for a comeback team, like a team that surprises everybody?
Well, I think it kind of goes back to that initial question that we were talking about at the start of the show, which is what does success look like for you? Is it turnaround for you 8 wins, or is it playoff run like Washington?
That's a good question. To me, I mean, 8 wins, that's more than we wanted forever. I mean, that's a step up
Yeah.
for all of us because we're used to so much less. But I think also it's a lot of it you can see on the field. It's the eye test. Are they well coached? Are they playing physical? Are they showing up on road games? Are they showing up after the bye? Are they showing up in the first quarter? Did they make adjustments at the second quarter? Like the second half, are there adjustments?
Are guys getting thrown under the bus, finger pointing, stuff like that?
Is there accountability? Are we removing all these stupid penalties? You can see like this team has been historically bad in so many different levels that if you clean a lot of that up, that should give you results. And you can see it. Like if they're losing, just say in theory, they lose like 21-20 opening weekend to the Steelers, but they're playing their asses off and they played really well. They lost out basically on talent. Okay, you know what? Cool. Build on it. Play the Bills. Play the same way. Play the good teams competitively. Beat the bad teams. Don't be the bad team. And you can see it. And you can also see when a team doesn't show up at all. And they're just like zombies and poorly coached, no adjustments. They look at the sideline like, what the hell are we doing? Like Garrett Wilson did last year. So a lot of things you can see.
Yeah, K-Dude hits on a great point here. The penalties were so annoying to watch every single week. Yeah, man, 100%. Like with Ulbrich, you don't even feel like that stuff was addressed.
Nope.
Like at all.
They stayed on the field.
Holdings.
Michael Clemens.
Yeah, with the late hits, man. The penalties. I understand that you can't clean up everything, and no matter what team you're talking about, you can find like flaws or holes in their game. Oh, I can't really run the ball, or maybe you have a lot of holdings or clock management, whatever it may be. No team is literally just A+ at every single position, every single facet within the organization. Right. It just doesn't happen. Really, really good teams have flaws. So I completely get that the Jets, are not going to fix every single area of need on the field and off the field in one off season. But fixing the penalties has got to be, in my opinion, like the top 5.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, and the thing is, like, when you have a legit quality coaching staff, when a player commits a dumb penalty, they already start walking off the field. They know, like, oh man, I'm out. Like they know they're coming out of the game. Like there's not even a question. The Jets commit dumb penalties, like, all right, back in the huddle I go. Nothing like, but it's stuff like that makes a difference. Like that's the accountability thing where it's like, all right, listen, I know what I need to do. If I don't do that, there's repercussions for it. And that pays dividends. So Fallon, what are you doing? What are you doing, man? Fallon's crazy, man. The heat get to you. He has to have a heat stroke or something. What's going on over there, Fallon?
Fallon, man.
That's crazy.
Yeah, every time Fallon's in the chat, I literally don't even know what to say. Like it's just super generous, man. Super, super, super generous, bro.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like I almost at a loss for words every single time. Absolutely crazy. Hope you're doing well, man.
So going back to it, it's just like if you could see like what you're considering success on the field, you could see a lot of it, especially Jet fans now, because we're tired of seeing all the same nonsense. Like K-Dude talked about it. We're all talking about it. Penalties, turnovers, dumb plays, play calling doesn't make any sense. And you'll know it, and the players will know it. So that's where if you clean a lot of that up, that should be results. So you looked at offense,
No, so I was just going to say, I don't want there to, again, of course, as fans, we all want the best. We all want Glenn to be the perfect tactician and, perfect adjuster and everything. Great with clock management, good feel of the game and everything. But these guys are learning, this is going to be their first rodeo too, like Tanner Engstrand calling an NFL game. So if they have crap moment, if they screw up a play call, or maybe they've never been in a specific situation with their previous team and they botch it, or Glenn screws up a timeout, or they waste a challenge,
What's gonna happen?
or they give up a 2-minute, 80-yard 2-minute drive right before halftime because the defense was asleep or something. They're focused on the third quarter or halftime adjustments. I'm personally, of course we have to make a note of it, but I don't think the expectation is that all the coaches are going to be 100% perfect and they're not going to make any mistakes.
Of course not.
Again, we got to make a note of it if it happens, like in recaps and everything, and in shows like this. But just hope that stuff changes over time. I think a lot of the flaws in maybe Robert Saleh, definitely Adam Gase, they never got better over time. Whether it's one season, halfway through the season, 3 years later down the road, no, penalties were always an issue.
Well, that's the thing. It's trends. If you know the trend, if you know what they always do, like we knew coming out of halftime, there'd never be adjustments. We knew there'd all be bad penalties. Like when you know the trends, you know what your coach is. Or is it a one-off? Like, all right, Aaron Glenn blew this one, but he doesn't make the same mistake again. Like the 2-minute drill was terrible. They get better at it. Like if he identifies the mistakes they're making and they rectify them, you don't worry about it. I mean, the best coaches in the game blow timeouts. Like you watch Super Bowls and everything else, you're like, what the hell are they doing here? Like it happens to everybody, but you don't want it to happen repeatedly where it's starting to hurt you week in and week out over a period of 10 weeks. You know what I mean? So that's something where you expect a learning curve. Engstrand's going to probably blow some things. They're all going to do it. But as the season plays out, start eliminating them. Start showing that you know what you're doing, making your adjustments, and correcting those mistakes, and you'll be fine. I think everybody will be happy with that. I don't have any problem with that at all. I think, honestly, week one will be the biggest overreaction game that we've ever seen because Aaron Rodgers, Jets, Steelers. If the Jets win, we're going to the playoffs. We're back. Super Bowl or bust. The Jets lose, we suck. Same old Jets. And it's like, so it's going to be one game, but the reaction is going to be all over the place because there's going to be so much spotlight on it.
Yeah, 100%. I just don't want the expectation to be excellence from the coaching staff when we have John Harbaugh blowing timeouts. We have, just the areas like Sean McDermott has had some questionable calls, like going for it on a fourth down. Just kind of strange situations. Sean McVay's a guy who's lost a bunch of games. Games where the Rams come out and they look like they're the best team in football by a mile. And then the next week they come out, should be an easy win. They're like a 7-point favorite and they're getting just humiliated at home. It's like, what is going on here? So it happens to every coach. And you just kind of feel like with Glenn coming in, he's the new brand new head honcho on the scene. Eyes are going to be on him.
Yeah.
Whether he likes it or not, like the national like everyone's going to be focused on the Jets, not in like a kind of main character type of like mindset, but just like for better or for worse, people are, I'm going to say, are interested to see like, oh, Justin Fields, new team, Aaron Glenn, new team.
Nobody
brand new
cares.
head coach.
I think the Jets are an afterthought for a lot of people, especially in this area. Everybody's talking Giants. Jackson Dart, Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, Malik Neighbors, Brian Dable on the hot seat. The expectation for the Giants is high. The Jets are an afterthought. Nobody really cares. Like, you know what? They're rebuilding again, reset. We'll see who they are 2 years from now. So I think they can kind of fly under the radar. But if in reality, they have a lot of talent. They really, and again, it's names that we all know. Quincy Williams, Quinnen Williams, Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall. Like these are guys that are these are very good players. So you're not a barren team. So to me, the standard is already set. Where listen, we have a bar. It's not a 2-win team. It's say a 6-win team. And then based on your coaching, it could be an 8-9 or it could be 6. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of where I'm at with this. Because look at defense, dude. You have, in theory, you have Michael Carr second is a very good player. Sauce, Will McDonald, an emerging pass rusher. Jermaine Johnson, once he's healthy, he's fine. Quinnen Williams. I mean, you can't have 11 all-stars on defense. You put together a good scheme, you add some pieces, and they should be able to compete week in and week out with anybody. They should. They have enough talent to do that.
They should. Yeah, that's the expectation. But again, bro, like we had all those players last year, throw in like a big injury, someone misses time. How do you bounce back from adversity? I mean, for me, dude, honestly, like I'm looking at this Jets team. I think we'll know pretty early on how the players respond to the coaches. From a week-to-week basis, from an in-game adjustment standpoint. I think we'll be able to pick up on that. If there's guys like throwing their hands up, or again, like you mentioned, like looking at the sidelines, throwing their hands up, like what are we doing? What's going on? If there's confusion, what one huge area that really pissed me off last year was not being able to get plays off, like the delay of games, with having Aaron Rodgers as like one of the smartest all-time quarterbacks in the line of scrimmage, and we can't snap the ball. And Sean Payton literally called Hackett out for that exact thing when he was in Denver, and everyone just tore Sean Payton apart. Even though it was such a big issue, crazy. Like I think it's just stuff like that. And even if something does happen, you know, week 2 against the Bills, week 3, whatever it may be, down in Tampa, by week 8, by week 9, by week 10, are those mistakes happening? Are they completely alleviated? Or are they getting better? You know, that's does it look like a more seasoned, like well-oiled machine, if you will, as the season goes on? Or are we going backwards? I don't want to be talking about a great Jets win in week 1, and then in week 13 we look lost, confused, and saying to ourselves, man, I wish we looked like we did back in week 1. It kind of felt like that with Saleh too.
Sure did.
You know, one of my favorite Jets wins of like these past couple of years was Zach's first, I think it was week 4, Zach's rookie year. They played the Titans, and Zach had this crazy rollout play, you know, launching it deep. And that to me was
Corey
just
Davis, I think, right?
Yeah, Corey Davis. I think the Jets after that game were 2-2, and a lot of people kind of had the Jets as like a 4-5 win team, as you know, as a whole. And then we're like, okay, we're a quarter through the season, 1 month in, and we already have 2 wins. Like, this is awesome with a rookie quarterback and a rookie coach. Problem was, it never really got better. Like, that was just kind of like
that was the pinnacle.
Peak. No matter, you know, the players that we added in free agency, the Laken Tomlinsons and whatnot, it just never really felt like the Jets got any sort of better. And then ultimately we started to get worse with, you know, Rodgers in year 4.
This is an interesting comment from Tony G, and I was going to bring this up later on. An interesting thing that he read was the Lions kept 3 tight ends. One was a fullback, 4 wide receivers, and 4 running backs on the 53-man roster. It's funny he says this because I did an interview with Joe Blewett, who does Jets X Factor. He does all the film study and stuff. He is so high on Beck, the fullback on the Jets, saying he's like a hybrid TE. He can block, he can run, he can catch the ball. And he's like, he's going to be a versatile piece in this offense nobody's really talking about. And it's interesting because the fullback, you got to look at, okay, makes sense because our tight end group is light, man. Mason Taylor, rookie. Jeremy Ruckert, disappointment. Stone Smart, pretty much a receiver. You don't really, you know, that's really all you have. A fullback could find a role in this offense, dude.
I think so. And, you know, if you're thinking about like the West Coast offense, you know, what Shanahan runs, like the roots of that offense, it's like pretty fullback heavy. You know, who was one of Tanner's mentors, Jim Harbaugh, you know? So I don't know. I think for me, the Jets actually have a pretty solid advantage in week 1 against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, I think, is the better team on paper, but I think if you're the Steelers trying to prepare for the Jets, yeah, you can say, all right, well, you know, we've coached with Justin Fields and we know what he likes, we know what he doesn't like, but you don't know what type of offensive system this is. I think a lot of people assumed, including myself, that the offense was going to look pretty similar to, you know, the Lions offense and like that whole lot, and it still could. But I think all of a sudden when the Jets signed Justin Fields, it's like, whoa, okay, we go from, you know, trying to project into 2025, a quarterback in Jared Goff who's known for processing, accuracy, someone who can make quick decisions with the football, a pocket passer, not a mobile guy, not someone who's going to extend plays. And then boom, the Jets signed Justin Fields, and it's like, that's not really the type of quarterback that Jared Goff is whatsoever. So it's like, is it going to be the same exact offense, or are there going to be some extra wrinkles? Is it going to be a little bit more spread out? Like, what is it going to really look like? Maybe more RPO focused, or influence. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, the Steelers defense can really perform with anybody, but just having that uncertainty, and then, you know, what's the defense really going to look like? I think it's going to be multiple, right? With Glenn, even though he's a first-time coach, he's still like a veteran defensive mind.
Yeah.
Like he's been around the block. He's been around the game for a long, long time. And then Steve Wilkes, a veteran defensive mind. And you mentioned it, dude. Like, we have good players on this defensive side of the football.
Key, man.
We know how Rodgers is like early in the season too. You know, I think people when I said it initially, man, people like were laughing at me and stuff. But I really think that the Jets actually have a solid chance in Week 1. I do.
So do I. Like, and that's the whole thing. Like, and like a lot of times when you say this kind of stuff, it's like, oh, you're a fanboy, you're trying to get views and likes. Like, I don't care about that. I genuinely don't care. It's like, as a fan, we're assessing what we see. We probably know this team better than like outsiders looking in because we watch it week in and week out for years now. And you look at your pieces of the puzzle, like legitimate pieces of the puzzle. We talked about offense. On defense, there's plenty of them too. Literally, it's like, and there's not going to be 11 All-Stars. We understand that. But if you can get, year 2 of Leonard Taylor is then you get a little better. That helps out. Like Will McDonald, a little bit bigger, should be more explosive. More make a play 3 downs now. All these things say this defense should be better. See, look, Jeremy, we suck. Exactly. 6 wins. 6 wins is an improvement from last year. But it's like there are pieces here that you can hang your hat on and say, listen, the Jets are not the team that Robert Saleh inherited. You're inheriting Pro Bowl talent on both sides of the ball. You add good coaching, discipline, accountability, and solid quarterback play. This should be a team that competes week in, week out. And that's not saying a lot. That's saying we should, they're not like, who's like the worst team in football right now? The worst team is
I would say the Saints. Saints or the Giants.
With Tyler Shuck on the quarterback. Giants are going to be good, I think. But it's like that's where.
Bro, the Giants, I think the Giants are going to have a top 3 pick easy.
I think they're going to be pretty good, man. They got a tough division, though, but I think they'll be all right. But like with the Jets, though, I think people are kind of sleeping on them where it's like they're just writing them off like, oh, you know what? Rodgers is gone. Devontae Adams is gone. They're going to suck. I don't really think so, man. I genuinely don't think that.
Yeah, I mean, football's weird, dude. I mean, we see what could happen.
We see it every year. And that's the thing. Like every year, like we always say, why can't it be us? Okay, because we don't have this, we don't have that, we don't have this. Okay, well, we have some things, though. Like now, again, we don't like you get lightning a bottle with Jaden Daniels or CJ Stroud, but can you get that? Can you get enough out of Justin Fields to be that team? I don't see why not. He's not horrendous. He's not Zach Wilson. The Jets won with him, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, and we also see the reverse, where a good team or a team that everyone really likes goes in the opposite direction, which is Jacksonville. Yep. Jacksonville was a team where it's like make it to the playoffs. Doug Peterson, Trevor Lawrence, like the team is rolling, playoff freaking win, incredible comeback. The following year, it's just a mess. Top 5 pick, whatever. Ends up being number 2 with the trade up. But football's weird, dude. Like it's not so. I think back, if you rewind like 5-10 years, it was more so like that on paper. Like who's better on paper? Okay, they're probably gonna be the favorite. But I think there's more of that, like any given Sunday. I mean, who had the number 1 pick, bro? Tennessee. I can rattle off a ton of really, really good players that the Titans had last year. So
what's the difference maker? The coach or the quarterback?
I mean, it's really both, but I think the coach is obviously more important.
I think so too, dude. I really do. Like, I think that, like a lot of times a great quarterback can hide a really bad coaching staff, except for the Jets, because we never can get that. But a lot of times a good coach, if he does a lot of things, can make your team a lot better and offset, poor quarterback play or other things like that. Like the Jets won games with Zach Wilson at times where he was awful. He was passing for 120 yards a week. You know what I mean? Like, so there is ways to win games in the NFL. You got to find what's your niche, like what's your way to do that. And that could be running the ball, using Justin Fields' athletic ability, play good defense, and play good special teams.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I mean, there's tons of examples that you can roll or throw out in both directions. Like trying to think of like amazing quarterbacks with horrible coaching. Mm-hmm. Some have done well, some have not done
Justin
well.
Herbert.
I was gonna say Andrew Luck with the Colts all those years.
Yeah.
But I think in today's league, 2024, 2025, it's about getting the quarterback and the coach. Pat Mahomes, Andy Reid, Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni, Josh Allen, Sean McDermott, Lamar Jackson, Herbert Harbaugh. We'll see what happens with Bo Nix this upcoming season, but if he continues on and gets better from last season, Sean Payton, Bo Nix, like that's a pretty damn good tandem. Yep. You kind of like, you're trying to think of teams out there. I mean, even Matt Stafford and Sean McVay, they won the Super Bowl a couple years ago. Like, what's a team out there that has a really, really, really impressive quarterback? with no head coach, like just a really bad option at a, at a head coach, or the reverse where you feel like everything is in place
It's the coach.
outside of the quarterback, and that's maybe the team that that comes to mind is kind of Pittsburgh, but
Could be the Cowboys.
Bro, I think Dallas is going to be a sleeper this year, man.
I think so too. I mean, you can make a case that the head coach hurt the Cowboys a little bit, but they have a ton of talent there, and then also the injury at Dak didn't help anything either. But they seem like they underachieve a lot.
Yeah, man, it's this season I'm actually really, really, really looking. Like, I haven't had this much excitement for a season, and it's funny because like the 5.5 win total projection and everything like that. This is the year I feel the most energized going into a year. I want to say, I mean, that first Rodgers year, I was excited. I didn't necessarily agree with like how the team was built, and I at that point I didn't really trust JD in them, but I don't know. Now it's just, I don't know if it's like the new life, the new guys involved, but it just kind of it feels like everything is changing, right? Changing for the better. Like, up to this point, it seems like Woody has allowed these guys to do whatever they want. We've added a senior advisor in Rick Spielman. I mean, that's just something that the Jets just would not have, rewind a couple years ago. Like, that's just not in the Jets DNA. Like, to bring in like a third party and like hire them full time, like someone who's like a vet, someone that like wants to be here. I don't know. It kind of has this cool, like, again, dude, like a physical, blue collar, hardworking, put your head down and work. You got to earn your starting spot here. And we're changing the cult. We're going from a team that was pushed around to a team that, should be pushing the other team around from like, an on-field, like physical standpoint. Like, you're not going to be, I really don't want to see the Jets being bullied this season. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, I'm tired of being a fan of a team I'm embarrassed of. Like, the Jets get embarrassed. They get pushed around, shoved around. They self-destruct. They melt. And they're getting blown out week in, week out. They're just not competitive. Where in the first half, they're down by 21 points, 17 points. Like, well, there goes this game again. And they get garbage points in the second half. Like, oh, the game was competitive. No, the game was over in the third quarter. Like, I'm tired of seeing that. Like, you'll probably get one game a year like that or two games, but you don't want to see 5 or 6 of those. You just want to see a team you're proud of. Literally say, like, this team is competing their asses off. They're going in the right direction finally. And it's not fluff. It's not chasing the big names guys. They're building their young guys, using your young core to win with. Not, the high-priced free agents.
Totally, man. Totally. By the way, the reason why I keep looking over here is I have this little fan going, but I keep smelling smoke. So I don't know if the smoke is coming from the fan.
Burn your house down.
Dude, I cannot believe that you think the Giants are going to be. I think you're buying into the media hype, dude.
No, they have talent, dude. They have a lot of talent. Their defense could be sick.
Yeah, I agree. I think from like if you look at their D line, dude, and if you're high on some of the free agent signings like Holland and Paulson Adebo, like those guys are real players that I like. Both guys that I felt like should have been targeted by the Jets. But in any case, dude, I think the defense is solid, but I look at the schedule, I look at the quarterback question. I have zero faith in Dayball. I just think the offense is just going to be non-existent.
Yeah, I mean,
like
I hate Giants. I mean, I love to see him tank out. I don't care. Like, I hate the Giants, but I think they have talent though. Like, I don't like Russell Wilson either. I can't stand him either. So
I don't hate Russell Wilson or anything like that. I just don't think he's, going to, like, I can't see the Giants hanging 30, 28 points on just like a week in, week out, like, oh, we can just score on anybody type of thing. Like, I don't know. When I think about the Giants, I think of like a 3-4 win squad.
Really?
Yeah.
They'll be cleaning house there.
I don't know. I've seen enough of the experiment. The offense just does not roll.
Now, the other question I have for you is, this was something that we argued about last night a little bit, was ranking the AFC East. If you had to evaluate each team on potential, the Bills are the class of the East, obviously, no question there. But you look at the Dolphins and Patriots. Dolphins are interesting because it seems like they're a team in turmoil. Jalen Ramsey coming or going. Tyreek Hill, what the hell's going on with him? Tua, is he going to stay healthy? Mike McDaniel on the hot seat. Is he not in the hot seat? They're kind of making a lot of changes. Like, how do you evaluate, like, if you're telling the Dolphin fan what your assessment is of them, how would you say what are their fortunes for the upcoming season?
I don't think the Dolphins are horrible. I don't even necessarily think they're a bad football team. And I still think, I mean, regardless of, what you think of McDaniel, the way I kind of view him is like, man, he is still so smart when it comes to like offensive schematics, how to attack a defense. If you can, it's so tough, dude, because like it seems like Tua misses time every year. And the Dolphins season it's like Groundhog's Day. It's like the same thing. It's like when the weather gets colder, they lose games. Early on in the season, when it's hot, and McDaniels kind of had like he almost kind of feels like a mad scientist. Like he's spending all off season looking at these fast players on offense, knowing that like Tua has like a super quick release, like matched with his running game, and just saying like, man, I'm going to just shred these defenses. And then by like week 7, week 8, week 9, it's almost like defenses like, I don't know if they catch on. I don't know
exactly.
If,
They
again,
start
if
figuring things
the
out.
cold, if the cold comes into play, maybe it's that. And so it looks like it looks like the Dolphins are struggling, but it's really just like the weather's having that much of an effect, or it's the opposite. Like the cold actually doesn't really bother them all that much. It's just defense is figuring out Miami. So it's just kind of going, like the placebo, like, what is actually happening here. And another thing too is like they've been labeled as not a tough football team.
Yep.
So in those games in January, late December, it's like if the other team is more physical, they are 100% going to be more physical than the Dolphins. But what's interesting about Miami is like I feel like a lot of their offseason moves was rebuild. Like young players were not like super aggressive, like foot slammed down on the gas pedal trying to accumulate guys.
Yeah.
It almost just kind of feels like, all right, let's get some of the old guys out and bring in some new young guys, and kind of go from there. For like a win-loss, I'd probably say anywhere from like 5 to 7.
Exactly. Okay, so now they could be in theory kind of in the same realm as the New York Jets, where they have talent but could be kind of like a meddling team that needs some breaks to get to 9 wins, or they could be in that 6-7 range. You don't know. Now the Patriots are a team that everybody loves because you got Vrabel, you got Drake May year 2, which is already got the hotshot quarterback. You have the veteran head coach that all the Jet fans wanted, hard-nosed guy, established winner, gets a lot out of his teams, the discipline, and everything else. How do you assess the Patriots? Are the Patriots potentially being overrated by a lot of people by saying, "Oh, no, they got Vrabel, they're going to win 12 games or 10 games this year," or do they still have a ways to go?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to win 10 games, but I actually think that the Jets and the Patriots are more similar than Miami and the Jets. Because when I think about Miami, I don't think about like when I'm thinking Jets, right? Dysfunction, losing, issues, drama, whatever. You have Aaron Glenn coming in to try to right the ship. And all those players that you're talking about, like the good players, are all super young, dude. Brees, Garrett, AVT, Gardner, Quinnen, Quincy,
Jermaine.
Take your pick. I mean, all these guys are Will McDonald. Yeah, Jermaine. We'll see what happens with Membu this season. Mason Taylor. All these guys are Braylon Allen. All young players.
Yeah.
But like Miami, it just kind of feels like they're hanging on. Like their playoff hopes are riding on the shoulders of their star vets.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm thinking about New England, it's like, okay, or comparing New England and the Jets, it's like both teams need a new leader at the helm. Glenn and Vrabel are both considered great leaders of men. Both guys are defensive minded. Both guys are former players. Both guys have tons of respect throughout the league and multiple connections to great coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Only difference, Vrabel obviously has done it before and has proven it. Both teams are rolling out young quarterbacks that you still feel like have not peaked. Obviously, May's upside's a lot higher than Fields at this point.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think both coaches are preaching the same thing. Like, get back to basics, tackle, run, effort, whistle, fundamentally sound, communicate, just stuff like that. Whereas Miami, I just don't really get that. Like when I'm thinking about the Dolphins and Mike McDaniel, like toughness, physicality, that stuff is just, it just doesn't come to mind. I think about like speed, finesse, outsmarting your opponent from like an X's and O's standpoint, or attempting to, trying to confuse, like smoke and mirrors, show one thing to another. When I'm thinking about New England and the Jets, it's just like tough, again, kind of hard-nosed defense and old school, very old school.
So if you had to rank the talent of the teams in a division, I think Buffalo's obviously one. How would you rank the talent 2, 3, and 4 within a division with Jets, Patriots, Dolphins?
Yeah, it's all similar. Buffalo's clearly number one. I think they're all actually pretty close to each other, but I think the arrow is probably pointing down for Miami, where the arrow is pointing up for the Pats and the Jets. Yeah, it should be interesting to see how the season. So, like, does that make sense? Like, we've seen Miami make the playoffs pretty recently, but it just kind of feels like Miami's going down, and the Jets and the Pats are coming up. And just so happens that they're kind of right around the same level. But then maybe in 2026, it's Miami's a little worse, and the Jets and the Pats are a little bit better.
So then
I think kind of all in the same boat.
So then going to Lauren's point right here, if all of these, say, minus the Bills, who are the class of the East easily, minus them, if the talent is the same between the similar with the Patriots, Dolphins, and Jets, does it come down to the coaching staff? Because then it's like,
I mean, it's got to, yeah.
So then how would you rank the staff? Would you say Vrabel's better than McDaniel?
Oh, I would definitely prefer to be coached by Vrabel. I think I would rather work for Vrabel. I have more trust in Vrabel in the postseason. Not, saying that McDaniel's horrible, because I actually do think McDaniel's not a bad head coach.
Right.
I think he might be better suited as an OC, but I still think you can do a lot worse than Mike McDaniel. I think if you maybe ask a lot of the bad teams, hey, Mike McDaniel's available, do you have any interest, or would you trade, hypothetically, unrealistically here, just 1-for-1 swap? You can have our guy and you can take McDaniel. I think a lot of teams would actually sign up for that. But I do think Vrabel's probably that number 2.
Do you think their staff, the Patriot staff, is better than the Dolphin staff as a whole?
So I like Anthony Weaver a lot.
I would probably man.
Yeah, I would probably take New England staff. I'd probably take New England staff.
Yeah, me too. The Jets, we don't know.
Who's the Patriots DC again? Who do they hire for DC?
It's
Did they
I thought it was, I don't want to say hold on. Patriots defensive coordinator.
Yeah, let me look that up real quick. I think they might have pulled that guy from the Giants.
Terrell Williams?
Terrell Williams.
Is that who it is? Yeah, he was hired in January.
Yeah, Todd Downing, wide receiver coach. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely. It's tough because, again, I like Anthony Weaver a lot. The Dolphins DC. I think he actually has potential to be a head coach coming in. Like, he has Baltimore Ravens ties. Runs a pretty complex 3-4 defense, and it seems like players really like him. But I mean, outside of Weaver, I mean, New England obviously is, it's great. Doug Marrone, Josh McDaniels. So
the AFC East is going to be interesting, man. It's going to be like, it's not like 2, 3, and 4 is a lot of competition there. If the Jets can hold their own, it's not like they're not like the outcast in terms of talent. They're like the bottom of the barrel here. They can be in the mix with all these teams.
Yeah. I mean, I still have major questions about New England's wide receiver core.
Yeah.
And if Will Campbell doesn't work out, I just don't really have a lot of faith in that team's left tackle options for this upcoming season, which could be a big, pretty big problem. But they started the rebuild process in the O-line. I think they actually have a lot of solutions there. It's just the whole left tackle, really the left side of the offensive line.
Yeah.
From an outsider's perspective.
So now I got all my thoughts out of my head now, man, because it's been sitting here for a week now. I'm like, I got all these things. But from Armand, which offense will be more creative? The Patriots, Dolphins, or Jets?
I think the most creative offense will probably be the Dolphins out of those three. I think McDaniel and McDaniels are close as far as overall offensive knowledge.
McDaniels is good, man.
But I don't think that Patriots offense has the talent that Miami had, or the speed and the playmakers that the Dolphins have. I think Jalen Waddle would be Patriots wide receiver 1. I think Tyreek Hill would be the Patriots wide receiver 1. So I don't necessarily know if McDaniels has the weapons that he needs to, operate that offense to its fullest capacity.
What's up, Dylan? How you doing, man? How would you rank the AFC East play callers? Joe Brady, Mike McDaniel, Tanner Engstrand, Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, man. So this is actually a really good question. I would say it's pretty tough because, A, we don't know what Tanner's going to provide.
Yeah, no idea.
You know, like if it was Ben Johnson or like a coordinator that's called plays, it's kind of like, okay, like maybe we have something to go off of. But, you know, I just don't have any sort of tendencies that we can go off of outside of just looking at the systems and the quarterbacks and the coaches that he's been around. Joe Brady, I think, is, you know, awesome. He's super young, super smart, but does have Josh Allen. So does Josh Allen maybe mitigate some mistakes, or does he extend the play that might not be maybe it's a negative play if it wasn't Josh Allen running the show there. I mean, how many plays are made with Josh Allen's escapability, running the ball, or even extending a play and finding someone downfield? So I probably wouldn't put Tanner or Brady at number one. Gosh, I think I would say Mike McDaniel is probably the best one, because with Josh McDaniels, there are numerous players. And again, dude, this is a great question. I think there was numerous reports and just kind of like players that had issues with Josh McDaniels on the offensive side of the football.
Yeah.
Good players that were proven and everything like that. Guys that just did not agree with that style of offense. And we've seen McDaniels fired twice. Mainly because the offense is just not all that great.
Yeah, Mike McDaniel was innovative in a variety of ways when he went to the Dolphins. And he's doing a lot of great things with Tua and all the speed too, with Waddle and Hill. And that's a tough one. Joe Brady's interesting because, like you said, you know, when he took over, he did a lot of really good things with Josh Allen, but Josh Allen went back to running the ball and like the escapability, the creativity, the crazy throws. Is that a product of the play calling? Or is that just Josh Allen being an MVP quarterback? Like it seems
right.
That's where McDaniel, but Josh McDaniels is. I mean, I think I probably would agree with you. I think it's probably Mike McDaniel. And I hate to say that. I think you're probably right though.
Yeah, and even Brady, like he has the experience working with Joe Burrow. He's learned under Sean Payton. So, I mean, he interviewed for the Jets head coaching spot a couple years ago. But yeah, I think he's gonna be a head coach one day. But I would say right now, McDaniel.
Those are good questions though. That's really interesting. Like, see, like good.
No, go ahead.
No, so just trying to evaluate the Jets, like, and, as a team, then comparing them to the AFC East is fascinating because they're not so far off. It's not like they're light years behind the Patriots and Dolphins. They're right in the mix.
Yeah, I just think the talent in the AFC is just really, really good, man. Like when I'm thinking about the AFC West, Raiders getting a lot better. Broncos, I feel like, are going to get better. The Chargers are going to get better. The Chiefs are the Chiefs.
Yep.
AFC North, you know, you got to imagine Cleveland's going to improve on their win total. You know, Baltimore's going to do their thing. Pittsburgh's going to have a good defense. Cincy's going to have a good offense.
Yeah.
I mean, the AFC South, I'm not really sold on, but
no.
Titans theoretically should get better. Houston should get a little bit better. Jacksonville, you would hope, with Liam Cohen. But, I mean, the AFC is just like there's so many teams with talent. Yeah. Whereas in the NFC, I just don't really – I don't really feel like it holds, you know, the same weight.
No, I agree. I definitely agree. How the hell did we do an hour?
I don't know, dude. I don't know.
I was like, I came prepared though. Are you impressed? I actually had topics for you this week. I've been focusing all week on this.
Yeah, well, so I think training camp starts July 22nd. Yep. So yeah, a bit of a dead zone right now, but it's gonna be fun to get back into the swing of things.
Yeah, you got to figure. Hopefully, over the next month, too, Garrett or Sauce get done, or both of them. You never know. It's there's gonna be some kind of signing or some kind of a contract extension. So that's always fun too. So we'll just see how it goes.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, man. I cannot wait for training camp to get rolling. Pads come on, contact starts.
That's right. We get our little logo T-shirts.
Yeah.
So, anything else you want to cover, man? I kind of hijacked everything. Is there anything else we want to talk about?
I think we're good, man. I mean, I think we covered a lot. I think one thing that would be maybe fun to do, whether it's next week or the week after, obviously depending on your schedule and stuff, would be maybe breaking down other teams, kind of like what we just did with the AFC East, but going through the AFC, not saying like what's the Jets' path to the playoffs or anything, because I don't want to put like those types of expectations on the Jets, but getting like a realistic gauge of every team out there who 100%. We're going to be competing against. Your best friend has a question for you. Oscar the Grouch. Ian, when you first found Let's Talk Jets, what did you think of the unfiltered content? I don't have anything against unfiltered content. Personally, what was really cool about Tyson was I think you reached out and you wanted to do a collab or something.
Yep.
And we did it. And I remember, I don't even know how long it was. I think it was like 25 minutes. And I remember ending it thinking to myself, like, bro, we could have went for like an hour and a half. Like I thought it went really, really well. And I don't know if it was like the next week or the week after or really how it started, but it was just like, yo, I personally had a lot of fun. We should definitely make this like a weekly thing or a monthly thing or something. Definitely in season and just kind of see how it goes. Like this, had a blast. So, yeah, I love Tyson's content.
It's a little like this is the like we haven't had like that. I think we only had like maybe 2 arguments so far of like a year where we completely disagree with anything. But the Jets have been so bad, we're kind of just like, yeah, we suck and this and that.
Yeah.
We haven't had any crazy stuff yet. So,
dude, it'd be so much it'd be so much fun to like debate you on a topic, like a big topic.
I can't wait. But we have we haven't been relevant. We haven't had those pivotal moments where the Jets completely blew it and we argued about it. We've always agreed, like they suck. I agree. They blew the timeout. I agree. Like we always agree with all the things they did wrong.
I'm trying to think of something that can maybe happen. Maybe like, I don't know, Justin Fields like looks a little bit above average. And then the question is like, do you stick with them at the end of the year? Do you move on? Something like that. But
or bench them.
Yeah. Unfortunately. Yeah. I don't want to go down that. We'll cross that bridge if we get to it. But
one more question. Are the Jets rolling with this roster for training camp or are they going to get a veteran or 2 before that? I'm hoping they make some moves, dude. Like a lot of tinkering because you've assessed OTAs, you assess mandatory minicamp, you see what's available and say, okay, listen, can we find some upgrades at positions of concern? Whether it's wide receiver, tight end, could be anywhere. Maybe safety. There's some still out there. I mean, what do you think? I'm hoping that, if not now, once training camp starts and maybe injuries occur or you start finding out across the NFL who's available, the trade market, whatever else, I think they should make some moves.
Yeah, I mean, the edge rusher position, I got to say I'm a little concerned with right now.
Yep.
Not saying it's horrible or anything, but, there's some guys on the open market, Zadarius Smith, Jadeveon Clowney, guys like that, where it's just like, if news breaks in 15 minutes that the Jets are signing Clowney, is anyone really going to be like, what are we doing? This is hurting the team. Yep. I mean, the Jets opened up, what are we at? 35 million in cap space?
Yep. 39. Yeah, right.
We bring in, take your pick, Zadarius Smith, 1 year, 7 mil, something like that, or like an incentive-based deal. We have the money to spend. If it's a 1 year deal, it's a 1 year deal. That's not going to hurt the team. If anything, it's going to provide depth, potentially give you a contributing player, definitely a rotational player once everyone gets healthy. I mean, you can make that same argument with like Keenan Allen, maybe, or Amari Cooper. I don't know. I don't think we'll make any moves though.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
Jake, thank you, man.
Yeah, thank you, Jake. That's awesome. No, I think we covered a lot, man. I don't know how the hell we did an hour and 10 minutes. Like I said, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get back into our routine every Tuesday, 7:00. Last week was completely my fault. My schedule's been ridiculous. I'm working a ton and just doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So my channel, his channel, back and forth. Next week will be his channel, 7:00, and we'll get closer and closer. We're less than a week away from training camp, dude. So we're almost there. We're making it.
Yeah, man. I'm pumped.
Thank you guys for joining us. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to you next week.
J-E